Good morning to the first walk and talk. Although the challenger who challenged me to do a podcast with him together did not show up, I decided that I must carry on and do the podcast. I accept the challenge. After I went back, I was challenged last week on Sunday, I went back home, and the first thing I did when I sat in front of the TV was to look at some walking podcasts, and I found many. And the one that I liked the most was, I think, an English teacher who was doing these walking podcasts. He was doing his first walking podcast in Paris. So he was walking on the street, showing the street, explaining what he was seeing. But not only that, he was also talking about Paris as a city, and whatever thoughts he had on his mind, he was complimenting and doing a commentary while walking. And I found that very interesting. So today I thought I would do the same. So I think it must have been 2 years ago now, I discovered the street walking videos, ASMR street walking videos, and they are apparently very popular. And I would not be exaggerating if I said I may have seen almost half of those videos on YouTube, because I found them very soothing. You know, I've been from Sarajevo, Bosnia, to Turkey, to Luxembourg, to Peshawar, almost all different cities, because it shows you real life. And it's ASMR, so the guy is not doing any commentary. So when I saw the podcast, with an English teacher, talking and doing a commentary, I found that very interesting. I think both have a different appeal. So that's exactly what I'm doing today. I'll let you see this beautiful walk in Dubai. And if you did not know I was in Dubai and I claimed to be somewhere else, I think you would have believed me, because this is not typical Dubai. I'm not sure if it's the national park, but I think it would have to be the national park, because it's the biggest within Dubai, with a lot of nature, and I'm sure you can hear the birds, and there's many different species of birds. There's snakes here, there's deers. So it's an interesting place, and we've started at around 6 o'clock, and it's May 3rd today, and it's quite pleasant. The weather is beautiful. So it's been, I think, 3 consecutive weeks now that we come, or 4, 3 consecutive weekends on Sundays that we come to this hike. And last week was the toughest for me, and the reason for that was because I did not sleep at all. So why did I come? Because I wanted to set an example, so everyone knows that this is not an excuse. Not sleeping is not an excuse to not come. And guess what happens? Two of our soldiers don't show up because they haven't slept. or more like one did not show up. One did not show up because he was tired and he had to pick the other. So yes, sir. I'll walk ahead so I can let the gentleman talk, and so I am not distracted as well, because they've been kind enough to let me talk for about 5 minutes now. Okay, here we are. So this is meant to be a hike in the desert. We're close to the airport as well, which is why you can hear the plane. And you have this street which is used for emergencies. So if anything happens, there's an emergency number at the entrance. You call them and they come to get you. Now you also have biking trails here, not just hiking trails. So when I was biking here, it must have been about 2.5 years ago now, I had an accident, and then I called them, and they were quick to come because they have this road in between, running in between the whole park, which makes it easy for them to locate people. And also there are numbers as you go, so you can let them know what sign you're close to and they can easily locate you. So far it has been easy. The podcast has been quite pleasant, and the weather has also been the same. Oh, the video paused by mistake because I pressed the volume button when I was trying to change from one hand to the other when I was moving the phone. So I'm shooting this on my iPhone 14 Pro Max, and I'm not going to act as if I'm not tired. I am tired holding this for over 6 minutes now, and I think that if I did have that camera with the stick, it would have been easier. And what I also understood from the English teacher in Paris, and what I learned, was that he was using a camera which was easy to carry. It was a small camera, and he could also stick it here so he can walk and talk. And I'm trying to do that manually here. So it was something like this. So he was walking and talking, and you could see the streets and people walking while listening to him talk about whatever he was talking about. And immediately I thought, whoa, it would be amazing to get that camera. But I had to stop myself because I almost got it. And the reason why I didn't was because I wanted to really live by work with what you have. Because this is what I always preach. And I very strongly believe that if you want to make something great, you will make it happen with whatever little that you have available. When it comes to videos, you do not need the most expensive camera to make the best content. You need passion, and you need a story. And some of the best editors, the people who make the best use of those cameras, the expensive cameras, are the ones who actually started with nothing, because they can see the value, you know. So now I try to do the same. So what I do is say, achieve something and test the waters. is the right way to say it, I think. Test the waters. And then learn to swim. And then when you have achieved something, then you can reward yourself with an upgrade and add-on gear. And for that reason, I actually stopped myself from buying the camera. And it's not that it's the first time, because I have made that mistake in the past. I did buy a DSLR camera because I decided one night that it would help me. It would encourage and motivate me to do videos. But it did the opposite. Alright? So I would sometimes have an idea, but the camera is not with me. Sometimes I have the camera with me, but it's not charged. And it would get frustrating. And the phone was always with me. So if I really wanted to create a video, capture a moment, I could do it with the phone, right? But no, I wanted to make it easy for me. And I thought I could just jump to class 5 from class 1. And I thought that I had found the shortcut. But you have to go through the process. This is how this worldly life is designed. And I learned this more and more as I grow up. That you have to go through the process. You have to do the hard work. And so to stay true to what I always say and preach, I decided I'm going to work with what I have. And the camera, I think, is amazing. There are sometimes limitations, of course. But overall, iPhone cameras are great. I think any iPhone, you can pick any iPhone and it would do the job. Right? Now, I was also thinking, should I get the microphones? And the microphones are great, but honestly, again, work with what you have. I have the microphones with me, but I was thinking to also do this podcast with Mr. Challenger, right? And if I was to do a podcast with him, I would have to then use 2 microphones, and I had only 1 microphone working. So I decided I will drop the microphone idea, right? So you can also hear the surroundings, because it's really amazing. I'm sure you can hear the birds, right? And I wanted to keep it raw. This was meant to be my first walk and talk or walking podcast, right? So I don't have to get it right. Now, honestly, a part of me also wants to not get it right because I want this to be the start of the journey, right? I want to document, and I think I'm gonna have very few cuts, or maybe none, because I want this to be as raw as possible, so I can look back and find things I want to improve. The last time I tried to do a podcast, I realized that I had a lot of ahs and ums and you knows, and that allowed me to take more pauses. It made me realize that I need to talk slower, especially when you're doing a podcast. You don't need to rush. Now, this was a realization, and to be honest, I don't think I'm aware enough of today, because I'm walking and talking, and I'm not sure if I am doing a lot of the ahs and the ums and the you knows, but I hope I am not, because after I did that podcast, I became a little bit more self-aware and said, you don't need to rush through your words, your speech. Just take pauses, and it adds weight to what you're saying. Just choose the words carefully. You don't have to say too many words to communicate a message. A pause can be good and sometimes very important, right? So back to work with what you have. Wherever you are in life, wherever you are standing, is exactly where you need to start from, right? There are no shortcuts, and that's the test, right? So there's someone who thinks who's broke at $1 million, right? And there's a person who's $1 million in debt. Now, both have their own perspectives, right? But the test is that you have to go through the test and the struggle that you have, the challenge that you have in front of you, right? So only, and I very strongly believe this now, even more with time, as time passes, that only when you accept that challenge and work with what you have naturally, it will build you, right? It will build you and it will make you strong. Like going to the gym. If you accept the help of the machines to help you lift the weights, it's not going to build you as much as you doing it naturally yourself, starting from 5 kilos and then 10 and then 15, right? And work your way up. That's going to build you to become much stronger than if you actually had an artificial help, a machine helping you to lift the weight, right? So sometimes some people think exactly that. They think because I can afford to, right, I can cheat my way, into skipping some steps. Anyway, I think I've been going on too long about the same topic. Let me show you where we are now. We're kind of deep in the jungle, if you want to call it jungle. It's not really a jungle, but yeah, we're deep in the woods. And the gentlemen are right behind me. So, talking about the week, it has been a very happening week for work. We had the opening of a bistro within an auction house, which is the first of its kind concept that I have seen. Now, this is the third time the video stopped because the storage was full, and that gave me an opportunity to delete some more videos, and that also tells me that maybe now it is time to upgrade and get an extra storage, right? An extra a storage that I can attach to the phone or potentially change the phone. So I like how it's turning out, because every great story starts with what? A problem. And we were talking about working with what you have and limitations, right? And then towards the end, you find a resolution, right? And I think what I was trying to say was you have to work with the limitations that you have until you reach a point where you can't do without an upgrade, and you have the ability to do an upgrade, more importantly, right? So I think now is the time to add the extra storage. Not get a camera, but the storage. And we're talking about vlogging when the camera went off, because Ozir was saying that I was just reminded that I was doing a podcast a long time ago he was doing some on his phone a long time ago, but those ones are called vlogs, right? They were very popular in 2014, 2015, 2016. I remember I used to watch some British guys. I remember only one guy now. His channel's name is Fun for Louis. And he used to do travel videos. He was an interesting character. He had long hair and I had long hair at the time. So I thought one day I could be like him. I could be as cool as him, travel around the world and do videos, right? And that was actually the first time I was also on videos, right? Introduced to the cappuccinos, right? Because they always used to go out and get their cappuccinos before going for the cycling trip. And before that, I wasn't really big into the specialty coffee culture because we didn't grow up on coffee, right? I was never a big fan of milk tea. I always liked strong teas, so I would like strong green tea. And when I started working, that was the first time I was introduced to coffee, and I instantly liked it because it was strong, it was bitter, and it just worked for me. Initially I would try it with milk, but very soon I stopped. And with time, as I say, you try something long enough, you understand what is good and what is bad, right? And same with coffee. Many years later, about 15 years later, I'm into specialty coffees now. And if I'm having a coffee just to give me that punch in the face to wake me up, I would have any coffee, right? You can have instant coffee. It's still coffee, it does the job, right? But if you want to enjoy, if you want to have that experience, then you go for something a little bit more special. Something that's more curated. And same with the content. I feel like the content I watch now is more intentional, more curated. And with time, when I have created enough videos, it will also become a little bit more special and curated, because I would have done enough videos to have this intuition, right? And the gut feeling for what is good and what is bad. And that is true with a lot of things in life. You have to do the reps, right? You have to do the reps. And Ahmed would agree with that 100%, because all he does is rep his down, right? You have to do the reps. You have to do your cardio, right? There's a lot of similarities in between fitness, creating content. Can you give us any example? Maybe share with us a story of something that maybe you did not like, or maybe an example of something that you liked but you had to put the reps into, get to understand what is good and what is bad.
Can't think of anything right now.
Maybe fitness, maybe doing the workouts.
I would say studying.
Yeah,
Because growing up, I was not like too much into learning and studying and into education. But with time, I think yes, right now I would say that like every day I have like a big amount of my time every day. It goes into the study.
right. But would you say that even the type of books you read or the research that you do, it is better quality now after you've done it for many years?
Of course,
Yeah.
This is like the rule of this world. Anything that you get into it with practice makes you good. So that's true. For example, now I'm in final year of university, graduating from this my course. So yes, of course, you see a big difference. Like I started 4 years ago, and now when I look back, you feel like you're like a child. You don't know anything. But
You've come a long way, right? You see the mountains in the rear view mirror.
Yes.
Right?
This is like the secret of being successful and being good at anything. Is a secret that you just don't give up. You just move on. You learn every day, bit by bit. Before you know it, like also there's a saying that the drops they make a river. So maybe the drop like seems very little.
Yeah.
But with time, you can create a river.
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like that's the problem with many people in this world. Like everyone wants to gain and achieve something, you know, and they start. Starting is very easy, but what differentiate between a serious one, a real one, and just the normal guys is the secret I told you about. Being
consistent,
consistent, and persevere, and just keep going.
Yeah.
Just deal with the ups and downs, and then with time, you see the fruits of
Your hard labor.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. This is exactly what I was trying to say. When I first started, I said you have to work with what you have. You cannot go to step 50 from step 1. And even if you manage to do it, you will not be able to sustain, right? Because that will be... And we have reached the end of the hike. We've done 4 kilometers roughly. And today feels like the easiest one. I don't know if it was the fact that I was recording a podcast, because we were having some meaningful conversations, or it could just be that it felt better than last time because I slept. Okay, we have made it. We have finished our hike of about 8.4 kilometers, and I'm using a different phone because my storage was full many times and I deleted a lot. But for the last bit of the walk and talk, I am using a different phone just to close it off. It was a meaningful podcast or conversations that I had off camera actually, and mainly about the same topics, you know, spirituality, connection with God, and understanding that life is struggle, and in acceptance of that there is this feeling of contentment, and there's some comfort in knowing that this is the truth and this is the reality we're in, and it helps you look at every struggle as an opportunity to perform. So definitely meaningful conversations. And also we're talking about how important it is to have the right company, so you can be reminded when you forget, because you know we all go through our own struggles of life, and we all need to be reminded. And the best of friends is God. And if you want God to talk to you, you communicate through Quran, right? And of course you also have your friends to remind you, but Quran is the best of friends. God is the best of friends, and the way to communicate with him is Quran. And on this note, I end this podcast. I will see you for another one, and thank you, Hamid, for recommendation, because it was more than just a piece of content. It was a lot of realizations. Thank you very kindly. See you for another one.